it's me. Today I'm here to talk about the movies I watched in September. I ended up watching 30 movies this month, which means it comes out to like a movie a day, even though like I didn't watch a movie a day. But that means we got a whole lot to talk about, which also means I'm not gonna go in depth about any of these movies. I will have like a blog post with all of like my initial Letterboxd review up on my like fandom blog, so that's always linked in the description. You can go check it out. My Letterboxd is always linked in the description as well, so you can go check it out as well if you want to have like more in-depth reviews for some of these movies. Let's just immediately get started with the first movie I watched this month, which is Pitch Perfect 2, which comes out in 2015, and I was 45 stars and it was a rewatch. The last movie I watched last month was the first Pitch Perfect, so like you should have expected as well. I watched Pitch Perfect when I was sick as a comfort watch, and I immediately had to watch the second one. I watched it kind of like as a follow-up to that, and I really like this one. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still like really enjoyable, has some great songs, has some great moments, and like the finale for this always makes me tear up. Then I watched Bridget's Diary, which came out in 2001, and I get 45 stars too. I read Pride and Prejudice like in August, and I actually wanted to do like in September, started off with like watching a bunch of like Pride and Prejudice movie adaptations. I ended up only watching Bridget's shows. I have to get to some of the other ones. But I think this is interesting because this is a movie that all my life I heard so many things about, but I never watched it. And I honestly was not expecting to like it, but I did. I really did. I do have some issues with it. It's very much of its time. There's so much phobia in it that I was just uncomfortable. But overall, I do think this is fun. I like the way the love triangle is dealt in the series. Just spoiled it. I watched Charlotte 2 as well, but I'll go in that more depth. But I think this is one of like the only pieces of media that pulls off a love triangle really well. Then the next one we have Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason, which comes out in 2004, and I give 5 stars to. This one I didn't like. This one did not work for me. I thought Bridget Jones was just a piece of shit in this movie. I really did not like her, and I know she's more like a unlikable main character a little bit, but I feel like that was done well in the first one, but in this one it was just too much, and oh, fuck. And then also just like the main conflict of this movie is of course between Bridget Jones and Darcy, and the whole conflict starts off with like her being upset that he has currently no immediate plans to ask her to marry him, even though they've been dating for 2 months. And that just made me believe like nothing in this movie, like absolutely nothing at all. Then next I watched Bridget Jones's Baby, which comes in 2016. I give 45 stars to. Again, this one I was not expecting to like because I already didn't like the sequel, and then when you have a movie coming out like years after the last one, I was a bit hesitant. But I liked it. Again, I pulled off the love triangle really well. I just like what's going on in here. And yeah, it's a fun follow-up. I think if you're a fan of like the first 2 movies, this one is a lot of fun. But like it's not gonna like do something new if you're not like a fan of the franchise, you know. Then next I watched Love in the Villa, which comes out in 2022, and I gave 5 stars to. This one was fine. I watched it when it came out. It was fine. I thought Kat Graham looked like a literal Disney princess come to life in this movie, so like yes. And once you got past the enemies part of the enemies to lovers in this movie, this was cute and was fun. It's very tropey, it's very predictable, but you know, it's a fun rom-com. And then next I watched Wedding Season, which came out in 2022, and I gave 5 stars to, and not enough people are talking about this movie. It's so good. It's like the perfect fake dating movie. It's just this one made me cry, gave me all the feels. I just fucking hell, this one is so good. Definitely go watch it. I don't have a lot to say about it because I don't want to tell you too much about it, because I have heard some people talk about this, but like maybe I feel like this one has gone under the radar for people, but it is so good. And like my favorite movie that came out this year, this one. Next I watched Just Like Heaven, which comes in 2005, and I give 5 stars too. Yeah, this one was fine. I do have some issues with it. I didn't really get a romantic vibe between the 2 leads. It wasn't until like the very end when he said I love you, I was like, oh wait, we're supposed to think this is a romance. I was totally picking up friendship vibes before that, but for the rest, I do think this does some interesting thing. It's a bit fun, but also has like that emotional moment. Then next we have Freaky, which comes out in 20, and I give 5 stars too. This one is so fun. I remember seeing trailers for this when this first came out, and back then in 2020, I was still very much anti anything horror because I was just too scared. I still am like very much new to the genre and like very much still a scaredy cat, but I'm like more open to trying things out. But like back then, this one really convinced me to want to go watch it because the trailer just looked so much fun. And this movie was a blast. So it was so much fun. And this is again one that I don't understand why people aren't talking about enough. I think it might have been that this came out just like a little before lockdown and might have like damned the hype for this one a little bit. But fuck, this is so much fun. Then just if you don't like unpopular MCU opinions, skip to the next movie because we're going to be talking about Thor Love and Thunder, which comes in 2022. I give 5 stars to. I do not get the visible hate for this movie. I don't. I've heard so many people say that this is worse than Thor Dark World. Don't understand it at all. It's not as good as Ragnarok at all. Not even close. But it's also not as bad as you'll say it is. It's not. I do get the people that kind of like feel mad about it, that didn't felt a little bit underwhelmed by this movie. But like the ones that absolutely hate this, I want to know why. There's nothing bad in this. Not at all. It does have a bit of a tonal issue at times. I do agree with that. It's very lighthearted, fun, colorful, and then like it gets like, very intense and dark. And the switch there just feels not as well balanced as it did in Thor Ragnarok, because Thor Ragnarok also deals with some dark shit, like it's the end of Asgard. But like for this one, there was just like this tonal shift throughout the movie that I did not vibe with. I really loved the antagonist in this movie so much that it was so well done. I loved like the first half was very like colorful and vibrant, and I really loved that aesthetically as well. I really loved the story of the mighty Thor and like Jane Foster. I think this movie does the Jane Foster Thor romance the best out of the previous Thor movies. It's still not fantastic, but I at least cared a little bit, which was not the case with Thor and Thor Dark World, so that's something. I am in love with King Valkyrie so much. And then next we have Pinocchio, which came out in 2022, which I give 2 to 5 stars to. Also, fun fact, this was the 100th movie I watched this year. Yay me! I wish I had learned that before going into this movie, that this would be number 100, so like I have something more monumental to say than Pinocchio, because this wasn't good. Then next I watched Definitely Maybe, which comes as an 8, and I give 2 to 5 stars to. This is another one I kind of just like feel fine about. It was a fun watch, but like not one that's gonna stick in my mind, and not very memorable, but I had fun and it was alright. Then next I watched the Jane Austen book club, which comes in 7, and I give 2 to 5 stars too. Same like Definitely Maybe. Was fine. I had a fun time, but not one is gonna stick in my mind too much. One thing I did like though about this one, which I kind of just want to sidetrack on, is the narrative of like the book club, where they're reading like a different book each month, and like their lives are like parallel things that happen in the books. And so yeah, I thought that was such an interesting like framing device for the story. Then next we have The Prince and Me, which came out in 2004, and I give 2 to 5 stars to. This one is one where the premise just sounded so fun to me and like fanficky kind of, but like in a fun way. And then the movie just ended up being like fucking boring. Then next we have Do Revenge, which came out in 2022, and I got 5 stars too. And again, one of the best movies of the year that came out. This one is so good again. Again, while I watched when it came out, because the marketing for this movie that Netflix is putting out just screamed my vibe. Like I was so hyped for this movie before it even came out. Like my expectations were through the roof. So I was like, okay, this isn't good, because the only thing you're gonna be after this movie is like let down. And yet it still exceeded all expectations. This was so much fun. This is such a fun like kind of revenge movie. A teen movie gets inspiration for so many different teen movies. There's Mean Girls in here, Clueless, Scream, so much is in here. It all pays homage to these movies brilliantly, while also standing on its own perfectly. It's so funny. It's so much. It's just. Then next I watched The To-Do List, which comes in 2013, and I give 5 stars too. This one, I ended up going in a direction I did not expect. This ended up focusing more on female friendship and female pleasure and being very sex positive, which from like how things were going, I wasn't expecting that was going to be a destination, but it was, and I really loved it. But I feel like the movie as a whole was like fine, underwhelming. Again, not one that I'm going to remember. There's also a lot of cringy jokes in here, and I don't know if that's because I'm just so far removed from the target demographic, or if that's just the way this was made. None of the jokes really landed for me, because they were just like, if you watch Sex Appeal, which came out this year, and I absolutely fucking despise, it's my least favorite movie of the year. I hate that so much. I feel like this movie does something similar and way better. Even if I wasn't a big fan of this movie, it just, it does what that movie's trying to do so much better. Then next we have First Daughter, which comes as a 4, and I give 2 to 5 stars to. This kind of has the same problem as The Prince and Me for me, where this premise is so interesting. It could be so much fanficky goodness, but it was so boring. This was so lame. Like, how can you have such a fun premise and then just do nothing with it? Like, absolutely nothing. Then next I watched 2 Weeks Notice, which came out in 2002, and I gave 45 stars to. This was again one that was better than I expected. I don't know, I didn't really have expectations for this, but it is one that I have not really heard a lot about as a rom-com. But I really liked it. It's not a perfect, but I really liked the dynamic between the two characters. I really liked the back and forth that they had. The moments of like realizing that they were in love with each other was also fantastic. Then next we have Friends with Benefits, which came out in 2011. I gave 45 stars to it as a rewatch. It's aged poorly. This movie just aged so badly. And there's so many jokes in here that just would not, do not, no. Oh my god, I definitely do not remember this like being so outdated already, but like it jokes in its terminology. There's a lot of slurs in this one as well. By the way, just as kind of like a reference, there's a lot of movies I've been watching recently that came out around like this time period where like it's like the late 2000s, early 2010s that use the R slur so much. Like, oh my god, it's insane. I do still think that as a romance to this one, I really loved the dynamic between the characters. I like how sex positive this ends up being. The relationship is so well done. The two characters I really like separately. It just like kind of is definitely had more rose-colored glasses on from like memory. Then we have Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which came out in 2005, and I give 2 to 5 stars to. Again, this one just bore me. I don't really understand. Well, I understand why it's so high because like kind of like the behind the scenes drama behind it, you know, but like the movie itself was so boring because again it has like such an interesting premise. Like these two assassins that are married to each other but like don't know that they're assassins until like they end up being put on like the same target, and then because they fail at that like have to kill each other. That premise, oh brilliant. What they do with it, boring. Then next I watched Falling in Love, which came out in 2019. I give 2 to 5 stars to. Again, fun premise. They did do things with it, but I wasn't convinced. I didn't like the acting in this one either. Like the acting bothered me a couple of times. And then there's also just like some like things around this movie, like the side conflicts, I guess, like storylines that have nothing to do with the romance, and like the making of the inn, renovating of the inn. Just there were too many. They were very underdeveloped, and I had a fun time watching this movie, but like when it ended I was like, yeah, this was a bad one. Then Maid of Honor, which comes out in 2008, I gave 2 to 5 stars to. How did this guy end up with the girl at the end? Like genuinely, he was just a terrible friend. Didn't like it. Next, My Best Friend's Wedding, which comes in 1997, which gives 2 to 5 stars. It's a very similar premise to Maid of Honor, just gender flipped, and I think this does it better because it doesn't reward the main character towards the end. I did not like this movie though because I thought the guy that they were fighting over was a piece of shit. I can't believe that 2 women were like actively fighting over him because like really this is the best you both could do. Then next I watched Bittersweet 16, which came out in 2021, and I give 1 to 5 stars to. This was bad. This was really bad. This is the most cliche, stereotypical, this is not how a single teen person acts example you could ever give. Like this completely did what it was trying to criticize, and it did not do it well. Then next I watched Cruel Intentions, which came out in 1999. I give 2 to 5 stars to. This is one I was just so underwhelmed by because I had heard so many great things about this movie over the years from like teen movie fanatics. But it just was so underwhelming to me. It was so boring. The characters are so pretentious, but like not in a fun way, just like in a eel way. Then What Happens in Vegas, which comes in 2008, I give 2 to 5 stars to. This was fine, but ultimately I didn't really feel the chemistry between the two characters. And really like, I don't know, I wasn't sold on the romance. Then next we have X-Men Days of Future Past, which comes in 2014. I got 5 to 5 stars to. Wow, I didn't expect to love this. I really didn't. Like the way I thought when I know this is one of the beloved X-Men movies. There's like a very small range of those. I know this is one of them, but just the whole premise of them like going back in time and stuff like that, it just felt very gimmicky to me, and I was like, there's no way that they're gonna pull this off in a way that I'm gonna love it. Like I might enjoy my time watching it, but there was no way. They did it. They really did it. Then next I watched Deadpool, which comes in 16. I give 2 to 5 stars too. I was so hyped to watch this. Like this is one of the main reasons why I did my XMen watch. So like, I watched the Deadpool ones. And oh, this was disappointing. I really love Deadpool. I really love that character, and I think Ryan Reynolds does a great job with it. There's some great jokes in here, some great fourth wall breaks. I think the fourth wall breaks are like perfect, but I feel like the story and like the characters surrounding Deadpool, not well done. And then next I watched Hello Goodbye and Everything in Between, which came in 2022, and I give it 5 stars too. Basically, the only thing I should tell you about this is that this movie is basically about the end of a relationship that we never got to see. So like, I don't really get how I'm supposed to care about it, especially because these actors also just have zero chemistry together. Like, then next we have 13 the Musical, which comes in 22, and I give 1 of 5 stars too. This was bad. This was really bad. Like, nothing about this movie felt natural. Like, everything felt so forced. Like, acting, scene transitions, everything just felt so forced and unnatural. And I didn't like it. Then next we have Hocus Pocus 2, which comes in 22, and I give 2 to 5 stars too. This is the last movie I watched this month, and overall I think this was alright. This was a little bit of fun, but overall just not worthy of the Hocus Pocus name. It's not as good as the first one. That is everything that I got for you today. I just knocked over my fan. I apologize. You didn't see that, but I hurt my hand doing that. But that was everything I have for you today. It still ended up being way longer than I wanted it to be, but like, maybe the magic of editing will solve that. And yeah, let me know in the question below what you thought of these movies, if you've seen them, as well as some movies you watched in September. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Good.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated?